Hey there, King Kings family. Welcome to this episode of Beyond Sunday. We are continuing our Multisite podcast series today, and we're going to be examining the preaching style that will be employed at our future campuses. So joining me today is a man who knows a thing or two about preaching, our teaching pastor, Zach Zehnder. Zach, how's it going today?
It's going good, Dan. How are you doing?
You know what? I'm doing pretty well, and thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
People don't ask me. No one asks the host. It's all about the guests.
Really?
But that's how it should be.
Yeah.
So I'm actually okay with it.
I'm sorry. Do you need to get anything else off your chest before we get going today?
I feel good, actually. I'm
Good.
all right. Yeah.
Good.
I feel comforted. Just a quick catch up for everyone. We're entering a very exciting time of growth here at King Kings.
Yeah.
We feel that God has called us to expand to 10 campuses over the next 20 years, starting with the Northwest Omaha campus in 2023 and a Gretna campus in 2024. This will allow us to grow our footprint in Omaha and reach even more people for Jesus. So the obvious follow-up to that news is, does that mean we're going to be hiring a bunch of pastors to populate these campuses? Not exactly, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Zach, can you just kind of walk us through what a Sunday message is going to look like at some of our new campuses?
Yeah, so I think like the Sunday messages at our new campuses will probably look very similar to what it looks like at our I Street campus, except it'll all be video. And so what's interesting though is I don't know when you come to the I Street campus, most of the people that come here actually look at the video screens anyway, even though the live person is there. And so yeah, we're going with a model to really maximize the messages that come from I Street to the campuses. And we're doing that for a few reasons. Like one of them is we really want to present a unified message. We're one church in different places, but we're still one church. And so by having one preacher each Sunday, it kind of brings a sense of unity across all campuses. And we want to maintain that. We really believe that we are better together and we need one another. And so this is one of those ways we can keep a unified message. A couple other pieces too, though, is like we're living in a digital age. And so one of the things we're going to be doing in this is putting a lot of emphasis on creating really great video content. And so that video content will not only help live at I Street, it'll help live at the campuses as they're watching the sermons, which will feel live, by the way. They'll feel very live because they are. It's just coming from a few minutes away. But also, like, we're creating a lot of investment in putting these together so that we can also have these videos, these messages in the content available for our YouTube channel. We can create bite-sized content. We can rearrange that content on our website to really give valuable information for people that are looking for things. And so to me, there's some churches out there that are thinking, discipleship strategies, and they're thinking like, well, this is our in-person strategy and this is our digital strategy. And to me, it's like, no, we make disciples and we need to figure out how to do that in every avenue. And so digital is a huge reason. So not only is it going to bring unity, I think, through the message, but it's going to create content that we can use to help disciple people throughout the week as well. And the other piece too that I think is just really exciting is we're going to be able to then replicate this and do this in a way that doesn't demand for us to go out and hire a bunch of, like you said, new pastors, because in truth, in our nation, there's a shortage of pastors, and in our denomination, there's an even bigger shortage of pastors. And so this allows us to kind of help the curve with that a little bit, to be able to say, hey, we're gonna continue to grow God's kingdom, but we're also going to be wise stewards with how we're doing that, and so we're gonna kind of keep that at central.
Plus, I mean, not to toot your own horn, but I think we've got a very good team of teaching pastors here between yourself, Greg Griffith, Mike White, and your dad, Mark Zehnder, when we get the blessing of having him in-house too. So it's not that there aren't other great pastors out there that we could hire and talk to, but it's kind of like, well, we have really good people already. Let's just utilize them even more.
And that's a piece of it too. We have a great team that we've assembled, and so that's awesome. And the other side of it too, it's a stewardship thing. And I can't speak for all the teachers on our team, but as far as exactly how much time, But I can tell you, like for me, I'm spending minimum 15 hours, probably closer to 25 hours every single time I preach. And so if we're going to ask multiple preachers at multiple campuses to all prepare messages, then that's less hours for us to be doing other ministry, when if we've already got a unified message and a solid teaching team that can then invest in the time to put a message together, that feels like a win from a lot of angles, from the pastor shortage, but also just from the time investment. And that's what I love about our teaching team here, and the way Pastor Greg has it as well, is a lot of times as the teacher or preacher, we really kind of own, if you will, a whole series. So it might be 4 or 5 weeks in a row, or even 6 in some cases in a row. And I love that, because it gives me the ability personally to spend a few months getting ready and really to create a unified experience for that whole period of time, as opposed to just sort of bouncing in and out, every week, and having to kind of, take what some person did over here and add to it, and then figure out how to then bring it in the next week. It creates this really great opportunity if we're spending all this time creating this content, and we have a really solid teaching team. I think it's really wise stewardship. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
I want to touch on that unity aspect a little bit more, because I think that that's something that's so important, and it's something that some people have expressed a little bit of concern about, is, hey, if we've got 2 locations, 3 locations, 4 locations, isn't it just going to feel like 3 or 4 separate churches? And I think if you have different teaching pastors at each location, even if they're preaching on the exact same subject, the exact same book, even the same chapter of the Bible, you can have wildly different messages. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but again, that makes it feel more like separate churches. It's just kind of like, okay, we're all under the King and King's umbrella, but it's not really unified. This just further emphasizes, that unity, and that everybody's seeing the same thing. So if you would go to the Northwest campus one week and then come back to I Street next week, you're not going to be like, whoa, what is this series? It's all going to feel very cohesive because the same thing's being preached, right?
Absolutely. And I think as we expand, because we want to expand because that's what we believe God's called us to do. And we want to do it in the right way, in a way that honors God, in a way that is wise stewardship. But we also want to continue to carry on that unity. Like you said, there's a really sweet thing happening here at the I Street campus. The 16 months that I've been back, like I've just noticed, like there's a really good staff health and a culture here that I think will carry on. And so we want to have that carried on. And by sharing the message, that's one of the ways that I think we can keep that unity. And if we didn't, like you said, maybe even we're preaching on the same themes or whatever, but everybody takes it their own direction. And usually they would, by the way. Dan, you sit in our teaching team meetings every week, and we go through the message and for this week and usually the following week. And so we all kind of just share ideas and illustrations, and one of us takes it this way and one of us takes it this way. And those conversations are super helpful in kind of forming the message and kind of putting the final pieces on it, for me especially. I know they're very helpful. But yeah, everybody's got their own bent. And so this is one way for us to stay together. And the truth is that, when you expand out to 2, 3, 4, 5, there is greater opportunity for vision to leak and for unity to sort of disappear. And so this is one of those ways that I think we can really come together and stay unified. One of many ways. It's not the only way, but it's one of many ways that we can stay unified.
Mm-hmm. I know you're a guy who has done a good deal of traveling. You visited a lot of different churches. I'm sure that you've visited churches that have had video preaching. Can you just kind of talk about some of those experiences and the successes you've seen?
Yeah, that's great. I think years ago I would have said, man, I'd much rather be in a room with a live preacher who's good than a video preacher who's great. And I think I've pivoted away from that, truthfully, because we are such in an age where we look at screens and everything is digital. And by the way, digital's real. So it's not like it's not live or it's not real. It's real. It just may not be in the same room. And that's not as big of a hindrance. And so I sat in a church, let's see, it would have been this past summer, I think, and watched a video. And truthfully, I felt more connected to the preacher on the screen than I did even to the to the campus director that Sunday. Now, I think over time that connection with the campus director will be greater, but I felt a really deep connection with the pastor on the screen. And I'll tell you, I'm a content consumer like crazy, and so I listen to sermons all the time, and so I have no problem listening, and I find great value in digital content, whether it's in a church on a Sunday during the service, or whether it's during the week, as I'm doing my own study or my own devotions. I think that it's not something that's a hindrance to me anymore. To me, it's like, oh, this is really awesome, and now this content can live on because we live in this digital age. And so, yeah, lots of churches, especially our size, are seeing the need to grow and expand, and also, like you said earlier, seeing the shortage of pastors that seminaries are producing, and so they're going this multi-site video-based route. And I was looking today actually at a study, and it said that of churches that worship about 1,000 or more on a Sunday, which we're in that range, that 33% of them are opening a campus, multi-site campus, in 2023.
Wow, really?
Yeah, a third of them.
Yeah,
and that's not like the other 67 aren't opening one ever. No, that's just they're maybe not in 2023, but 1/3 of them have a plan to open a campus. So that's just what churches our size are doing. They're recognizing that the greatest way to grow the kingdom of God is statistically in our nation, either by planting new churches or by opening campuses. And opening campuses through multi-site, through video venue, is a super effective way today that statistically is one of the best. And so that's what we've decided. It's like we want to be a part of that. We want to grow God's kingdom. And so we'll do anything short. I know I've heard Pastor Greg say it many times, anything short of sin to reach new people. And so this is what we're doing. This is what churches our size are doing to grow God's kingdom.
I want to clarify a couple things as well. There are still going to be plenty of live portions of what happens on a Sunday morning at our campuses.
Yeah.
There's going to be, like you mentioned, a campus director who will be live kind of running the show. Worship will be live. There'll be still be children's programming. There's going to be all kinds of good stuff still happening in person. Just that preaching component will be on video. I love the point that you brought up about even now when the preacher is live, most people are watching the screen anyway, and there are benefits to that. You can see their facial expressions. You can see their hand movements. If they're using some kind of a prop or drawing or something, it's so much easier to see. So I can understand why there's some hesitation around, oh man, I don't want to go to church and watch a video, but in some ways it is just as, if not more, engaging.
Yeah. Yeah, and to anyone that might have those hesitations, I'd say that's fine to have those, but I would say give it a chance and try it out and see for yourself, because it's a method and a strategy of church growth and expansion that is working like crazy. And so we want to be a part of looking at, again, using our finances and stewarding them well, and also having the lens and the eyes to look at what's happening in our nation and world, and say what's a wise use of how to grow a church and what's working, and do we have the right people for that? And that's another huge piece of this is we feel like we have the right people for this model. And so sometimes it's not forcing the model that you think could work, but it's looking at your church, at the leadership and the staff that you have, the people in the church as well that attend, the resources that are in the church, and the community that you're being called to, and saying what's the best way for us collectively to reach this area. And like all of this lines up really well with our strengths here at King of Kings. And so to me, it's a no-brainer, and I'm excited to be a part of it and love the vision.
I agree. It's all very exciting, and it's just great to see it all starting to come together. On that note, we're going to conclude this episode of Beyond Sunday. Be sure that you're subscribed to the Beyond Sunday feed so you get all our multi-site episodes, along with Beyond Sunday Sermons with Mike White and the Greg Griffith Leadership podcasts on your favorite podcast provider as soon as they drop. Thank you for listening, King and Kings, and let's keep moving our faith lives beyond Sunday.